right in the kisser.
Hey, how the devil are you? Right, why are you? So I'm going to digress for a little bit, okay, from the main content of the video. A few weeks ago, I just happened to be the weekend and I was drinking a beer while making the video. And it was a Corona, Mexican lager, love a Corona, okay? But someone in the comments said that why are you drinking an imported beer when you've got so many nice beers around in your own country? Or words to that effect, it's not verbatim, okay? And I thought, well, they make a fair point. So what I thought I'd do, I'd go out and buy some local brewed beers and lagers from around Wales. Say local, some of them are not really that local. So the first one I've got today is, it is the weekend, so I'm allowed to have a beer. I don't drink a lot, okay? I'm not a huge drinker, just have a couple of beers on the weekend, drink responsibly. But today I've got Wrexham Lager. Now Wrexham's up northeast of Wales, quite away from me actually, very close to the border of England, still in Wales. And funnily enough, they do sound a little bit like they're from Liverpool, like Scouse, okay? All right, kid, do you like my new trainees? Calm down, calm down. Terrible, I do apologise to anybody from Liverpool for that impression. Right. Now, Wrexham has a really decent football team. I think they're up in the second division now, or first division actually. Owned by Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, I think his name is. I think it's something like that. And they're doing quite decently up there. But also what I found out when researching this beer, this Wrexham Lager, from the Wrexham Lager Beer Company, is that they got shares in that as well.
If you're drinking anything else, you're drinking bullshit.
Whoa, blinking Canadian. And so, yeah, so they got shares in Wrexham Lager. Anyway, let's spark it open and give it a taste. Right. Cheers. Hey, do you know what? Hey, that's not bad. That is quite nice. I'm no beer connoisseur, so I can't give you, oh, the taste of hops, the feel of it on your tongue, or any of that nonsense. I just think, oh, that's all right. Tastes fine. Yeah, nice. There we go. Anyway, on with the video. Every so often in the comment section, a comment pops up which says something along the lines of, by the time you buy all this ChiFi stuff, you may as well just get an integrated amp. And it's a fair comment. I totally get where you're coming from on that. However, there's a lot of variables to take into account, isn't it, right? So currently I've got this stack here. This is the Fozzy Audio P4 preamp. Then I've got the Box X5 phono stage, very decent now. I've got a V3, Fozzy Audio V3. I don't have a Fozzy DAC, but I do have a Duke Audio DAC here, the K5, very capable little DAC there. And that will cost you, oh, sorry, the V3 I got with a 48 volt 5 amp power supply. So that stack would typically cost you in the region of about £400, give or take, here or there. In comparison, you could buy for that money a Yamaha AS301. And you would get pretty much the same thing. You would get a headphone out. You would get bass and treble. You get tone controls. It's a built-in DAC on it. You get coaxial and optical. You've got multiple inputs plus a phono stage. The only thing that the Yamaha has over that is that it has twin binding posts for your speakers. You get A and B. So, but pretty much the same price, again, give or take. Depends what offers are on at the moment. But for argument's sake, let's say they're the same price. So you say to yourself, well, why get all that? I'll just get a Yamaha AS301. The Yamaha AS301 is 60 watts per channel into 8 ohms. With a 48 volt, you're looking at 115 watts per channel out of this. But here's the thing. So firstly, right, it's all about how much cash you've got at the time, okay? You could say, well, just save up for it. True, but, you know, some people are really on the bones of their arse, especially with the cost of living crisis now. Even right now, I still find it hard to fork out 400 quid for an integrated amp. I'd have to save up for it or maybe buy monthly or something. But with the ChiFi stuff, you can just go, well, I've got a CD player. I just need an amplifier just to amplify at the moment. I've got a CD player and speakers. I just need an amp. You could just buy the V3 and you could buy it with a 32 volt 5 amp power supply. Then at a later date, you can upgrade to the 48 volt if you wanted to. And then, so you got yourself started right from the ground up. So you can then add to it as you go along. You go, right, that's all I can afford at the moment. But they're in the door. They've got their music playing, okay? So they're happy. They haven't got to save up for a year to get an integrated amp. Then as they go along and they save a little bit more money, they can go, do you know what? I'll get a DAC. I'll get a DAC now, so I can put some digital stuff through it. Bam, get that DAC. A few months later again, they might want to get a turntable. They can buy the phono stage, okay? And then if you want to put more inputs in, they can get the preamp. So that's one reason. Another thing is that some people might not want a DAC or a phono stage or a preamp. They might be just happy with the amp, okay? With an integrated amp, you've got it is what it is, isn't it? I know you can buy cheaper integrated amps without phono stages and things like that. But you may just want an amp and a DAC, an amp and a phono stage. You might not want anything else. So that would cost you 200 quid rather than 300 or 400 quid for an integrated amp. So there's another reason. You've also got to consider space. So a lot of people live in small flats, small apartments. You may only want it for a desktop. So, you know, maybe an integrated amp isn't feasible. It might not fit in the space you want. These are much easier to fit in little spaces. I did put an integrated amp on my desktop, although I do have quite a large desktop space. A lot of people don't have that luxury. And I had to move the integrated amp in the end. It was just taking up too much space. And this is where these come in. So they're perfect for putting on a desktop, okay, or small spaces in a flat or an apartment. So space is always going to be a factor when you're thinking of buying a hi-fi. One of the drawbacks of buying a stack like this is the wires and the leads. It is a pain. So, you know, so for this stack, this is what I've got. So it's a lot of plugs for that stack there, isn't it? You know, it's a lot of things you've got to plug in. But I just get an extension lead with a 4-pin plug, 4 plugs on it, with a switch on it so I can turn it on and off. I don't have to go to the plug to turn it off. And I plug them all in there. But that is a bit of a pain in the neck. And obviously with an integrated amp, it's all internal. You just got one lead and that's it, done. So it is a little bit neater on the back than say these amps with all these leads going on. And when it comes to sound, to be fair, I mean, I think this stack here would sound just as good as a Yamaha AS301, maybe even a little bit better. I don't know, maybe. But it would sound just as good. Potentially a little bit louder due to the higher watts. But in my experience, I do find that Class AB amps per watt sound a bit louder than Class D amps. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's the built-in power supply, you know, the toroidal transformers, things like that. I don't know. But I think sound-wise, they probably sound similar. So there's only one thing for it. Now, I don't have a Yamaha AS301 to hand, but I do have a League Stereo 230. So what I want to do is compare this to this in a sound test. Now, I don't know, I can't use a record because I will get copyright. So I'll probably just connect my CD player up to the DAC, into the back of the amp, out to the speakers and see, and we'll do that with that as well, okay, and see how it sounds. Anyway, have a listen to this. Well, there wasn't a lot of difference, was there? Now, I was using my amp switcher and speaker switcher, so I was switching between the two, A being them, with some other tracks as well. I also switched them between speakers, so I was testing them with the Lintons and the 12.2s. The test track I used was through the 12.2s. And I couldn't really hear a huge difference between them. I think the leak was better. I did listen to the test track via headphones, which you can hear the differences more significantly. And I think the leak was a little bit more open. It had a little bit better detail retrieval. And the bass was slightly more, slightly tighter. But I'm talking very small amounts. If you was casual listening, you would never hear the difference between the two, I don't think, anyway. I would love to know your thoughts in the comment section. I also forgot to mention on the point of upgrades. So, for example, I finally get this stack, and in a year or 2 years' time, I think, oh, do you know what? I want to upgrade the amp. It's very easy to take out the V3 and put in two V3 monos. Bam, done. Then 6 months later, do you know what? I might get a better DAC with more functions on it or something. Take that DAC out and chuck the DAC in. Same with the phono stage. Now, you could argue, before you start typing on before you start having a go in the comments, you could argue, you can do that with an integrated amp. Oh, yes, you can. You can get an external phono stage for the integrated amp, and you can get an external DAC for the integrated amp. But you're kind of in the same boat, aren't you? Then it's like popcorn and kettle black. You're doing exactly the same thing. So realistically, if you want to upgrade your amp, a lot of the times, your integrated amp, you just got to buy a new integrated amp. You can't. It's not as easy to chop and change, is it? If you know what I'm saying. Anyway, that's come to the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Come on, sort it out, and I will catch you in the next one.